The sun bathed the countryside in a warm golden glow, stretching its light over a vast meadow where wildflowers swayed gently in the summer breeze. Beneath an ancient willow tree, two young girls sat together, their laughter blending with the distant hum of cicadas. Elise, barefoot and carefree, carved their initials into the tree's bark with a small pocket knife, while Marie plucked petals from a daisy, watching them drift away in the wind. "What are you writing?" Marie asked, her curiosity piqued. Elise grinned, her blonde hair catching the sunlight. "Our initials, so we'll always be here, together." Marie traced her fingers over the fresh carving, E+M, a small knowing smile playing on her lips. Yet behind it there was something else, a flicker of thought, a whisper of doubt. "Forever, right?" she murmured. Elise didn't hesitate. "Forever." The two girls flopped onto the grass, staring at the sky, pointing at clouds and laughing at their differing visions. A butterfly fluttered past and Marie reached for it, only for it to slip through her fingers, carried away by the wind. "Things don't always stay the same, Elise," she whispered, watching it disappear. Elise frowned but shook her head. "Maybe not everything, but we will. We'll always have each other." Marie smiled, but deep inside she wasn't so sure. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the initials carved into the tree glistened in the fading light, a promise, innocent and unbroken. For now. 15 years later, the serene countryside had been replaced by a bustling cityscape. Inside a sleek cafe, Elise sat at a corner table, elegantly dressed, absently stirring her coffee as she waited. The door chimed and Marie entered, her casual attire contrasting sharply with Elise's polished look. "You're late," Elise noted, looking up with a faint smile. Marie shrugged. "You always were the punctual one." The warmth they once shared felt distant now, buried beneath the weight of time and different choices. A few polite exchanges later, Marie hesitated before leaning forward. "I need a favor." Elise raised an eyebrow. "A favor?" Marie lowered her voice. "I'm in trouble, financial trouble." Elise set down her coffee, her expression unreadable. "How much?" "50,000. Elise blinked. The number hung between them like a ticking bomb. "That's a lot, Marie." Marie's voice softened. "I wouldn't ask if I had another way. You know that." A flicker of hesitation crossed Elise's face before she exhaled. "I need time to think." Marie nodded, understanding but disappointed. As she left the cafe, the space between them felt wider than ever. A week later, Elise sat in her luxury office, flipping through financial reports when her phone vibrated. A notification from her bank. "Transfer $50,000, Marie Lavoie." Elise's heart stopped. She hadn't approved that transfer. Panic surged as she scrolled through her account, her stomach dropping with each unauthorized withdrawal. "No," she whispered. Her office door swung open. Jonathan, her assistant, stepped in, his face grave. "Elise, the finance team found something. There have been unauthorized transactions from your account. They think..." Elise swallowed hard. She already knew the answer. "They think someone close to you did it." Her grip tightened around her phone. She already knew who. That night, the rain poured as Elise stood outside a rundown apartment complex, banging on the door. When it finally creaked open, Marie stood there, her eyes rimmed with guilt. "Tell me it's not true." Elise's voice shook. Marie didn't answer. The silence was louder than any confession. "You stole from me, Marie, after everything." Elise's voice cracked with hurt and anger. Marie's lips trembled. "I didn't have a choice." "There's always a choice," Elise whispered, stepping back, tears in her eyes. "You just didn't choose me." Marie's eyes filled with tears, but Elise was already walking away, leaving behind the shattered remains of a childhood promise. Days later, in the countryside, Elise stood before the old willow tree. The initials E+M were still there, though time had softened the edges. Slowly, she pulled out the same pocket knife from years ago. With a deep breath, she carved a single line through the initials. Then, without looking back, she walked away. But Marie wasn't done. From the shadows of a lavish rooftop restaurant, she watched Elise, now seemingly unshaken, sitting with her husband Damien. He was everything Marie had ever wanted: successful, powerful, protective. As he leaned in to whisper something that made Elise laugh, Marie's grip tightened around her wine glass. Elise had everything, and Marie had nothing. A slow, dark smile crept onto her lips. Maybe she had just taken the wrong thing. Weeks later, under the dim glow of Damien's office, Marie arrived unannounced. Draped in a black silk dress, she closed the door behind her, locking it quietly. Damien frowned. "Marie, what are you doing here?" She stepped closer, her voice smooth. "Just checking in. We haven't really talked since everything." Damien's gaze was cautious, but Marie was patient. She leaned on his desk, her words a slow, deliberate whisper. "Elise ever make you feel invisible? Like she cares more about her work than you?" Something flickered in Damien's eyes. Marie saw it, the tiny crack. "I know what it's like to feel overlooked," she murmured, lightly touching his hand. For a moment too long, he didn't pull away. But then he stood, clearing his throat. "I think you should go, Marie." Marie smiled, but inside she seethed. She wasn't done yet. Days later, in the secrecy of her dimly lit apartment, she executed the next phase. A text to Damien, another to Elise, a meeting at the old hotel, midnight. When Elise arrived, the air was thick with decay, shadows dancing along the walls. She called out, "Marie?" Footsteps. Marie stepped forward, a twisted smile on her lips. Elise frowned. "What is this? Why did you call me here?" Marie's grip tightened around the knife behind her back. "Because I wanted you to see it coming." Before Elise could react, the blade plunged deep. A sharp gasp. Elise staggered, her eyes wide with pain and betrayal. "Marie!" Marie twisted the knife. "You took everything from me," she whispered. "Now I take everything from you." As Elise collapsed, the last breath leaving her body, Marie watched, expressionless. The girl she had once sworn forever with lay lifeless at her feet. Outside, the wind howled. Justice would come, but not yet. For now, Marie had one more thing to take: Elise's life, Elise's world, Elise's husband. And as Damien held her in his arms weeks later, believing her lies, she whispered with a victorious smile, "We deserved this." But she had overlooked one thing: a silent witness. Elise's son, Lucas, had seen it all, and the security camera had captured even more. One evening, as Damien reviewed the footage, his blood ran cold. Marie's voice echoed through the speakers, whispering to Lucas, "Your mommy got in my way, and now she's gone. Do you want to be next?" Damien's hand trembled, his jaw clenched. He finally saw Marie for what she truly was: a murderer. The next morning, as Marie made breakfast, humming softly, Damien stood behind her, phone in hand. He pressed play. Her voice filled the silent room. Marie turned, her face pale. "You murdered Elise." She stared at him. Then, for the first time, she didn't smile. Outside, sirens wailed. Marie had won many battles, but this time she had lost the war. Lucas felt more safe, and Damien decided never to get close or intimate with any other woman. Thank you for listening to today's story. Watch for more amazing contents. Meanwhile, what lesson do you think this story teaches about trust and betrayal? What would you have done if you were in Elise's situation? Feel free to drop your comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.